wasn't a nice guy. He was tough, iron tough.
That's right. We're including the good, the bad, and the ugly.
He was a corrupt general with no skill set at all. It was horrible, horrible.
From the first war that founded the country,
Washington is probably the greatest soldier in the United States history,
to a future war that could end the world.
You mess with the United States, we're gonna vaporize you.
These are the generals who made the modern military ethos.
He was a macho man. The village people would have loved Andrew Jackson.
These are the leaders who are still teaching our soldiers what to do,
keep everybody organized, and focus on the goal.
And what not to do.
Custer wasn't afraid and wound up dead in a ditch.
These are America's greatest warriors. Good evening, I'm Leland Vittert. In the Revolutionary War, George Washington realized holding this high ground over the Hudson River would decide the fate of our young nation. Since then, American soldiers have stood watch at West Point, and the United States Military Academy here has educated and formed America's greatest generals. And tonight, we reveal the temperament and the character that protected our nation since.
To me, West Point has always been a very special place, almost a sacred space in American history.
If you want to understand America's military tradition, you start at West Point. Today's cadets and tomorrow's officers train here on its famous plain, under the watchful gaze of the Academy's most celebrated graduates and some of our nation's greatest leaders.
General Washington, during the Revolution, he called West Point a key to the continent. He knew it was strategically valuable terrain, that we had to hold it to gain American independence. And ever since 1802, when the Military Academy was founded by Thomas Jefferson, West Point has maintained this prominence and preeminence.
Colonel Brian Gibby is the deputy head of the Department of History and War Studies.
We're the only military force on the planet in the history of the world that swears an oath to a piece of paper, to the United States Constitution. And we honor and recognize civilian control of the military as being a primary principle of our military ethos.
And that's different than any other country.
Yes.
Tonight, we want to look back at the men who both shaped and embodied that ethos. The great American warriors who have featured prominently in many of the books penned by America's most popular historian, Bill O'Reilly. A guy who knows that even the most lionized leaders are, like the rest of us, still imperfect people.
So our greatest warriors, generals, leaders, good and bad, all of them. And that's the human condition, the duality of man. But we mythologize in America our heroes. We make them into people that couldn't possibly exist. And that's my job, is to bring everybody down to earth.
We begin at the beginning with the general immortalized in so many statues, monuments, and even our money that it's hard to separate the layers of legend from the man. It's no surprise, right, that Washington is the one looking out on the plain.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Washington is probably the greatest soldier in the United States history. He exemplified, the principles of our military ethic, deference to civilian control of the military, and also the selfless service.
He was a warrior from a very young age, trained by the British.
French and Indian War.
And Washington gets shot 5 times. But he didn't stop. Washington didn't stop. Incredibly brave.
It was that character and his experience as a soldier that made Washington such an effective leader during the Revolutionary War as head of the Continental Army.
He is a commander, but he loves his soldiers, and he empathizes with them and their willingness to die for their cause, and he's not going to throw away their lives needlessly, which is somewhat in contrast to the aristocratic European tradition that was prevalent in the 18th century.
What does Washington do?
Well, I'll take two examples. The Battle of Trenton at the end of 1776. His army is literally about to dissolve because they signed up for 1 year, January to December. And the Continental Army had just been beaten and driven out of New York City and across New Jersey. And Washington recognizes this is it. If the army dissolves and we're losing, the revolution is over.
Remember, Washington was commanding not troops that were trained at West Point, not professional soldiers like the British had. He was commanding state militias mostly. Guys who were wearing, farm outfits, and they'd show up with a musket.
And so he talks to his officers and his men, and he convinces them, stay on for a little bit longer. Trust me, we're going to do something. And that's when he launches his surprise attack at Trenton and Winston.
Washington's speech to troops you quoted in Killing England. Let it never be said that in a day of action you turned your backs on the foe. Every motive that can touch the human breast calls us to the most vigorous exertions.
Yeah, Washington was a committed guy and saw the big picture that the colonists were getting hosed by the King of England, and he didn't want it.
That is exactly what the revolution needs, to get that shot in the arm that we actually can win this. And it's one of the few times where Washington, at the tactical level, at the battle command level, does pretty well. He loses most of the battles that he's engaged in, but when it really counted, at Trenton and Princeton, he wins, saves the revolution.
Washington's leadership was never tested more than in the winter of 1777. But for Washington, the Continental Army would have collapsed at Valley Forge.
How he kept that together, I don't know any general in American history who could have done what Washington did, because those men were literally starving. And it was freezing cold, and the families are screaming, when are you coming home?
Can you imagine if there was cable news back then?
Oh, my God. Washington kept them together just by sheer force of personality.
He expends a great deal of time and personal wealth to keep the army alive and to keep it together. And once the army emerges from Valley Forge, it's much stronger.
But don't kid yourself. Washington's leadership involved more than inspiring speeches.
But he had a dark side. George Washington had a dark side. You didn't want to get on his bad list. You did not. And when someone broke ranks, he'd hang you.
He ordered his own men hung.
Hung. In front of everybody. And that was part of his discipline. Washington was one tough SOB, except when it came to his wife, who pushed him around.
After leading our new nation to victory over the British, Washington would lead it as our first president, a position he crucially gave up after 2 terms, even though he probably could have held it for life. When you teach Washington at West Point, what do you hope they take from it?
I hope they get a sense for his modesty, his humility as a leader.
Anybody who doesn't admire George Washington is a loon. The guy is an incredible hero.
Andrew Jackson was one of the other generals to become president.
Right.
Now so many compare Donald Trump and Andrew Jackson. Is Trump like that?
Yeah, Jackson's his favorite president.
Why is he his favorite?
Because Jackson is a no BS guy. And Trump likes that style.
General Andrew Jackson became a national hero when he defeated the British in the War of 1812, facing impossible odds at the Battle of New Orleans.
When you go down to New Orleans, and every American should go and see that battlefield, what Jackson did down there, again, with just guys out of the woods, no trained West Point guys, he kicks the British right back into the swamps with a bunch of farmers. He knew how they were going to fight him, and he just outsmarted them, and it was a rout. It wasn't even close.
He's a very prominent general before becoming president. And as president, he manages to take an appetite suppressant on, I'm not a general anymore, I am a political figure, and I have to go about things a little bit differently.
He was a guy, Andrew Jackson, not well educated, okay? And he was all a guy, out of his gut. Now, you can take Jackson apart because what he did to Native Americans was horrible. Horrible.
President Jackson will forever be tied to the so-called Trail of Tears, the forced displacement of 5 southeastern tribes, which became a de facto extermination order.
He damn well knew that he was going to destroy these tribes by kicking them off the land in the South. He knew it, and he didn't care. You know, you can be a brilliant general and not a great guy.
Even when the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Cherokee Nation's claim on its land, Jackson refused to enforce the ruling. O'Reilly sees a similar attitude in our current president.
I think that Jackson's personality was similar to Donald Trump's personality. That if you crossed Andrew Jackson, you know, get your pistol ready.
Might be a good quality for a general. Is it a good quality for a president?
Well, look, Jackson was a successful president since he was reelected. He was a populist. People loved him. They had confidence in him. Was he a great legislator? No. You know.
Was he a great leader?
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy, Jackson, when he showed up, Old Hickory, everybody got in line. And again, the mentality was they loved guys who were strong. So he was a macho man. The village people would have loved Andrew Jackson.
Coming up, America goes to war with itself.
I believe that that was the biggest test that America has ever had.
And 2 West Point graduates face off on opposite sides. That's next. It's the mid-1800s. The colonies have been liberated by George Washington, and the young nation has been strengthened by Andrew Jackson. But now the Civil War calls on new heroes to keep a fractured Union intact. General Ulysses S. Grant came from humble beginnings and rose to lead the Union Army against the rebellious South. His willingness to make hard decisions led him first to victory, then to the White House.
He was a hero of the Civil War. Without Grant, it might have been a stalemate because McClellan, who was the first commander, he was a coward, and his troops did not respect him. And then Lincoln went through 3-4 guys, and they were terrible. And finally, he drags Grant, who's out in the hinterlands, because this guy at least will fight.
Grant has an amazing story coming from modest beginnings in the Midwest, goes to West Point, doesn't want to go to West Point, doesn't want to be a cadet, but he gets in. And he's here for 4 years, and it turns out he's really good at horsemanship. He has a very good eye for terrain and can visualize that and then communicate that vision to others. Serves in the war with Mexico and demonstrates to himself, I can do this, I can be a soldier.
What do you teach about Grant that takes a man from leading armies west of the Mississippi and a no-namer to suddenly commanding the U.S. military and winning the Civil War?
Yeah. Grant, unique amongst the Union commanders, he was willing to engage in battle even when things were not necessarily set up for his success. And he has this vision. He's taken a lot of casualties, but he's doing what needs to be done to win the war.
Grant's counterpart for the Confederacy, Robert E. Lee, was, like Grant, a West Point graduate. But the two were a study in contrast.
In the Mexican-American War, when Lee and Grant met for the only time before Appomattox, Lee looked down on him. Look at this, because he didn't feel that he carried himself with the aristocracy that an officer should. As far as tactics are concerned, Lee was a much better tactician than U.S. Grant. Both very brave men, but Lee, he was brilliant in a way that he deployed his troops, motivated his troops.
There's no statue of Lee on West Point's plain, but dozens are still standing throughout the former Confederacy. Lee fought to keep slavery. He betrayed his country to do it, betrayed the oath that he took at West Point.
He did all that.
Is he worthy of the statues?
I think he is, in the sense that he did his duty to his state.
His oath wasn't to his state. His oath was to the Constitution of the United
True,
States.
But he made a decision. I think that in the South, there should be a historical legacy as an American warrior, not a philosopher, not a politician, as a warrior.
As a warrior, you don't mind the statues.
Right. I think both were honorable men down deep, my opinion, and certainly a lot of people disagree with me, but I think both were honorable men.
West Point teaches so much about the art of soldiering and the art of war. Grant was also known for his art in victory, of letting Lee's army at Appomattox keep their guns and keep their horses. Is that part important to teach too?
Yes, absolutely, because it's one thing to win the battles, to win the war. You also have to win the peace. And so that gesture that he makes, I think, really set the conditions that the Union can be stitched back together and we could have the country that we have today.
I believe that that was the biggest test that America has ever had, but we came through it.
Of course, not every soldier fights for duty or honor. Some, like George Custer, do it for glory.
George Custer epitomized every good thing about war and every bad thing about war. Bravery, camaraderie, sacrifice, the bad things, savagery and death, destruction, sadism. And Custer, more than any other American commander, epitomized both.
And he loved war.
Loved it.
Custer's class of 1861, He's the bottom of his class, but he knows how to interact with others. He knows how to be aggressive and take risks. And within 4 years, he's a general officer of volunteers and breveted, by an honorary general in the Civil War, and is fighting, some of the major campaigns towards the end of the war.
Very young guy, troops respect him, flamboyant, doesn't dress in a traditional military uniform, so he's got a little jaunty hat on or a feather.
This is George Custer speaking. I challenge the annals of warfare to produce a more brilliant or successful charge of cavalry. Dear God.
He loved himself. He was in it for the glory. And so that it worked in a structure where he answered to other people.
However, every virtue, when taken to extremes, becomes a vice, and daring is no exception. In Custer's case, it proved to be both his superpower and his fatal flaw.
Once he went west, he didn't answer to anybody. And then the arrogance took over, and the cruelty took over. And that's what did him in.
What made him so different in battle than anybody else? Was he just a lunatic?
Yeah, he was absolutely crazy. You don't go in with 250 guys and fight 5,000 Native Americans who hate you. All right, those are not odds you want.
By 1876, Custer had a well-earned reputation for slaughtering Native American women and children. At the Battle of Little Bighorn, the Lakota war leader Crazy Horse gave Custer a taste of his own medicine.
Custer wasn't afraid and wound up dead in a ditch.
Custer has a monument in the cemetery here at West Point.
A monument in the cemetery? That's not exactly prized ground.
The plate says, "Here lies General George Armstrong Custer, killed with his entire command." Not necessarily what you want to be recognized for.
So a couple of lessons learned. Duty is essential, but it's no excuse for blind loyalty to an unjust cause. And daring is a valuable quality in moderation. Coming up, the men who modernized the military and turned the United States into a global superpower.
Perhaps the best general in American history.
That's next. From muskets to missiles, for America to stay free, its military must continuously adapt. Credit for our modern military ethos that prioritizes discipline and training goes to World War General John Pershing.
Pershing is the first general of the armies. He's recognized as having the stature of leading, really for the first time, a significant American army overseas to engage in a world war. He has more men under his authority, over 1 million, that he takes to France. And he really puts America on the world stage in the early 20th century for what he does in World War I.
Black Jack. They called him Black Jack because he commanded an African-American battalion in World War I. Racism was huge in the early part of the 20th century in America. Not for Pershing. He was respected by his black troops. He trained his black troops. He went to battle with them, and they loved him. But he wasn't a nice guy. He was tough, iron tough.
But he was also iron cool, right? Theodore Roosevelt on Pershing, the coolest man under fire I ever saw in my life.
That's right. And that's why when Roosevelt got to be president, he elevates Pershing to general of the armies.
What is the lessons of Pershing that are so important, not just for cadets at West Point, but for America?
That America has a role to play. The British and the French wanted American troops, but they did not want an American army. And Pershing was very insistent that the United States had its own military objectives to achieve during the war.
General Pershing was perhaps the best.
How's it going? And welcome to Joe's Jukebox episode number 1, here with Mike Healy from Disembark Media, and we're here to chat music, videography, music videos, live concerts, hardcore, and all NEPA music. Mike, how you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm really excited to have you on. I mean, this is carrying the legacy of local music videos. And look at one right here. We have Haywire in NEPA at the Triangle Club in Wilkes-Barre. And just tell us a little bit about that. What's going on here?
So this show, this was insane. This is actually a Tuesday night, and it was sold out. Haywire is a very big hardcore band, and they came to Triangle Club, and yeah, the show was insane. It was 100 people, I think, cap, and yeah, a lot of energy. It was crazy. Yeah,
so they are covering a Title Fight song, and if you are anywhat familiar with NEPA music, Title Fight is huge, arguably the biggest bands ever come out of the area, and absolute hardcore legends. And Haywire does this thing that they like to tribute bands from the town that they're playing in. And so they played Shed by Title Fight, and people went absolutely nuts, as you can see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as a concert videographer, what's going on in your head? Wow, this is happening.
I'm just trying to catch like as much action as I can, making sure that it looks good, the band looks good. You can see I'm cutting to different camera angles here. I'm trying to get all the shots that I can.
Yeah, so give me a little background. What is Disembark Media?
So that is a company that I started. I'm the only person that is in it, and I started this last year. Filming local shows, and it's just something I like to do, and that's why I started.
Yeah, and so you started. This isn't your first time picking up a camera, though. Like, how did you get started with videography?
No, so actually, I started with filming disc golf. So I'm a big fan of disc golf. I was filming my own content. I ended up working with a company filming professional disc golf, and I did that for a few years. Took a break, and I missed videography. So I was like, I would go to shows, and I just picked up a camera and started filming shows, and that's what I started doing.
Yeah, let's go to that Koyo video on clip 2. And you go from disc golf to people jumping off poles, as you're gonna see here on the Koyo video. So this is at the Reverb in Reading, And you guys, so there's all these venues that you've done at. You've done Good Things Fest, you've done the Reverb in Reading, you've done Triangle Club, you've done Camp Punksylvania. What are some of your favorites to shoot at? I mean, what are some cooler ones?
Reverb was really awesome. That was the outside stage. They have a stage inside as well. Shooting outside is great, depending on the weather. Also, Triangle Club is another good one. Doug's Boardroom, that's fun. Yeah, I like shooting everywhere.
Yeah, cool. And yeah, like this Coyo show, I remember I was standing there. They're playing 51st State, Long Island represent, Long Island, Strong Island. And a guy climbs up, jumps off the pole into the stage. I mean, that's incredible. That is so cool. And that's like all these hardcore shows are all about. And everyone caught him, of course. And you can go to Magnitude, the next one at Reverb too. And Magnitude, my boy Sejas is in that band. They are absolute rippers. But I mean, like the energy of these hardcore shows, you're capturing this. And when it's happening, are you like, oh my God, like I hope nobody kicks my camera? Like
definitely, and it has happened. You have to, watch where you're standing, and it's part of the environment. You just have to be aware. I don't blame anybody if they do accidentally kick my camera or anything. Actually, when they were climbing on that pole, I had 3 cameras I used, and there was a wide shot, and I had a camera set up on that pole. So when it went on it, they ended up kicking it, but then someone else in the crowd noticed that happened, and they actually adjusted it and fixed the shot, which was awesome.
That's really cool. And I think that's like hardcore represented right there, though. Somebody gets fallen over, you pick them back up. You see someone's camera gets fallen over, you put it back right.
Yep.
That's really funny. That's cool. So yeah, just what are some? Are you into hardcore? Like, is that? Yeah. So what are some of your favorite hardcore bands?
Yeah. So I actually started more of like into pop punk. I remember in high school, someone let me borrow the Starting Line, Say It Like You Mean It. Yeah. And I was getting into the Drive Thru Records bands, and then Tooth and Nail bands, and Solid State bands. So it was kind of a progression, more like post-hardcore, and then hardcore kind of came later. But some of my favorite bands were, early Norma Jean, The Chariot, maybe a little more metalcore, but like Fear Before the March of Flames, if you're listening to them, and obviously Title Fight. I mean, for this area, they're on the top.
Yeah, so you're from this area, right?
Yeah, so I was originally born in California,
Okay.
And then when I was 10, I moved to Weatherly, which is where I consider I grew up. When I got married, I moved to Hazleton, and that's where I am now.
Cool. Yeah, so even though you were not born in this area, you do have the connection. I mean, 10 years old, that's a significant part of your childhood. When did you start going to shows around here?
So I started going to shows. My first, I guess, concert was Senses Fail at the Staircase.
Nice.
And the more of like the local scene was actually when I was in college. I went to actually more ska shows at the Metro. I have friends in Skiptown Maddie, so they brought me there a lot. And then it was more like indie shows, and that's where I saw, Tiger's Jaw and Title Fight, and I have friends in Dakota, so I'd see them a lot.
Yeah, Dakota guys are great. Jay and Dan, great people. Jay actually helped record our first record, If Kansas Had Trees. But yes, and then what other stuff are you looking for? Like, you have shows coming up? I mean, there's that one this Saturday.
There's the Halloween show this Saturday. I'm not sure if I can make that one. I'm going to try to. But there's also the SWE Fest coming up, Still on Break Fest. It's a hardcore fest.
Yeah.
That'll be at Doug's Boardroom. And then off the top of my head, I can't think of the other shows coming up. But if you're interested in going to shows, check out Wilkes-Barre Shows on Instagram.
Yeah.
They have lots of ones posted there.
Yeah, Wilkes-Barre Shows on Instagram is the place where they post all the shows, all the flyers. Now let's go a little bit Scranton-wise. The Red Room. What's your experience with the Red Room?
So the Red Room, this was really cool. So this was actually Scranton punk collective, Jess Mione, she put on this special intimate show in her house where here we have Rosary Guild, and this was an experience. They involved the crowd in things. They had them do different things where they experienced like a song blindfolded, or they paired it with different things that you would eat, drink, or also they hooked up a phone to the pedal board and then gave it out to the crowd and then created loops. So like it was like a crowd experience that they would create there. So that was a really cool show, and I liked how that video turned out. Yeah,
and then speaking of videos, you've been recording music videos as well.
Yeah, I did. I've done 2 so far. So for more of the local scene, this one right here, this is S Pine AK's video that I did for them, and this was my second video. This one was fun. It was my first one that was more of a cinematic feel to it, and that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then you've also done one for Auto Ignition as well.
Yep.
And that one's a bit more like VHS vibe and like DIY. If you pull that one up, and then what was that? Were you just following them around all day with the camera? Is that what was going on?
Yeah. So that one, Punksteria. So I've a friend Noah in Punksteria hit me up, and Auto Ignition's from Buffalo. They came to Scranton for a show, and they wanted to do a music video, and their idea was more like the cut into different shows that they played, visiting the city. We visited the Hyper-V mural, and just doing stuff around the city. We went to the Tiger's Jaw pizza place with the cover of the self-titled.
Yep.
Went to Bazaar. So yeah, that was a lot of fun too. So those are the 2 music videos that I've done.
Cool. And what was it like? How is that different than live concerts?
So I mean, if you miss a shot, you can definitely try again. And yeah, it's more. It can be interesting where you're playing to the song, and then you could do it a couple times, and sometimes it might feel kind of weird. But yeah, I like doing both. I like doing music videos and filming live.
Yeah, and I'm sure editing is very different for those. What's the editing process like for a music video, and then also for a live show?
For a music video, yeah, it takes a lot more time. And then you're also sending it to the bands, and then you're getting feedback from them.
Yeah.
There's a lot more creative shots that you have to put into those. And then filming live, so I film with three cameras, a wide shot, a drum cam, and my handheld. And when I'm editing it, I sync all the cameras up together. I could see them all at once, and I'm just clicking between what feels right. Either I'm clicking to where the action is, or where the song goes. Like if a guitar has a lead part, I'll want to go to that shot.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's like the art of editing is almost like as important as being at that show, because you get that feel of what's happening. I mean, like there's one, if you pull up the One Step Closer video, that like there's a cut right at the beginning where somebody like immediately just runs onto stage and they like, this is just the beginning of their set. That guy runs out there, there's like one guitar playing, but that's One Step Closer shows for you. That they're so much fun. And then he starts singing, and everyone's going nuts. But just like I just love the one cut you made there at the beginning, because it goes from the intro of just the guitar and then the drummer, and then back to someone flipping out onto the stage. And I'm very impressed with that.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
One Step Closer, there I could talk about them all day long, but what about some of your favorite bands playing right now?
Playing right now, yeah, One Step Closer. They're amazing.
Do you want to show the record you brought?
Yeah. So I went to the All You Embrace record release. So this is, bands in punk and hardcore will do special variants of their releases. So this was the record release cover. Waited in line quite a while for this. Actually got number 1 out of 20.
Number 1 out of 20 is awesome. That's so sick.
Yeah. I just wanted to show that. They're awesome. They're like right up my alley. I love the new record even more than the first record. It's just the style with the singing and yeah. So they're great. Rosary Gill, we watched them. They're another excellent band. Catching Yetis.
Yeah,
they are.
They're next up.
They're fun. They're a fun band. I like filming them, and I love their music. If Kansas Had Trees, have you heard of that band?
If no one's familiar, If Kansas Had Trees is the band I'm in, which is really funny. But continue, if you must.
Yeah, if I was on another podcast, it would be on my list.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a great band. Seeing you guys at the record release, that was the first time I saw you.
Yeah,
it was really good.
That's so cool, and that's so interesting because like even now looking back at it, it's like, oh man, like I would do so much differently for that show, but I'm just so glad that it happened. And yeah, there's so much I would change just because like our energy on stage is so much different now, I think. And I think if you saw us today, you would recognize that, which I think is cool because you could see how bands evolve. Like if you saw One Step Closer a long time ago, you could see how they were so different. And like Ryan sings differently now, and like his yells are different. But even other bands like Catching Yetis, I saw them at Jared's house, just a basement show, and seeing them on a different stage, like where they played at Doug's at Kingston Loves You Fest. It's just so cool seeing how bands evolve over time and their energy on stage. And I wonder, just maybe because I'm the singer of a band, I think so much about that, of like, oh my God, like our energy's different now. Like I think they would think it's so different. But like, then again, it's almost like everything else, the average person watching like doesn't even notice half the time. So I don't know. What because you get to see a lot of different bands, and like, what's your thought on them evolving over time? Like, do you think it's like, who are some of the bands that you've seen evolve over time?
So one of my favorite bands is Me Without You, and they are definitely one that falls within that category where they have evolved over time. They've done different genres. They started out a little more aggressive, hardcore, post-hardcore, and then they did like a folk album, and then I love their storytelling and all that. But then I don't know. Yeah, they did a bunch of different genres, I would say. So I like when they evolve. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I went on a tangent. I'm just like, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Joe's Jukebox. You're watching as well. Thank you so much for that. On the CTV app, 2822 now, on Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku devices. Thanks. Hello, and welcome back to Joe's Jukebox here on the 2822 Now app. I am Joe Nardone alongside with Mike Healy from Disembark Media. We are talking about concert videography, going to hardcore shows, but also indie shows, alt rock, and just live performances in general, as well as taking the concert videos, what's like being there, Good Things Fest, Camp Punksylvania, all the good stuff that's happening in the area. Mike, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no problem. And let's talk about Good Things Fest. Now, you've done Good Things for the past 2 years in a row, this year was the Menzingers is the headliner. If you want to bring that up, the Menzingers at Good Things Fest. You got some pretty cool drone footage at the beginning of the video. So how did you capture that drone footage? Do you have a drone?
I do. So yeah, I also have a drone license, which you have to go to an airport for. And so the intro of the electricity, that one was me. And then I also, for this show, had a buddy help me with, so this is his shot.
Yeah.
During the Menzingers, I thought it'd be cool, and I cut in while they're performing drone shots, which that was the first time I did that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did see, I was there and I saw the drone like hovering above everybody while the show's going on. I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is, and that's probably gonna look cool. And it turned out really cool. So you had to go to the airport?
Yeah. So if you're only flying a drone for fun, you don't need it's a Part 107 certificate. But if you're going to be doing any type of work, getting paid for it, you actually have to go and get a drone license.
Wow, that's really cool. And I mean, how long did that take? I know like airports aren't known for their fast and short lines and everything.
It was pretty quick. You just go in, and I forget how many questions it was, but it was all multiple choice. You didn't actually have to fly the drone, which is interesting.
Oh,
but the
it's
test,
almost like your driver's license test.
Yeah, but the test was actually pretty difficult.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you had to study like the air maps and all that, and know what everything means. Even though I'm just flying over, just capturing the performance. You have to know like what airspace is, how high you can go, stuff like that.
And so people just messing around don't need them, but you do, which is interesting. Yeah. So the Disembark Media journey, like, how did it start? I mean, like, what was the first show that you took video of?
The first show was a local showcase at the Ritz Theater. So Estacota was playing, and that's what I originally went there for. I'm good friends with Jay. I used to live with him a little bit. I was in his we were in each other's weddings, and so I went for that show, and I just filmed all the bands, and then I posted them, and I got a lot of good feedback from it. And I was like, all right, maybe we'll try again, and yeah, that's where it started.
Yeah, it's really cool because there is a lot of history of concert photography coming out of this area. I mean, and videography, like Feet First, and now you're kind of like that next generation kind, like, because not everybody can be at every single show, and like I was so bummed I couldn't go to that Haywire show, and it's so cool that like you got a lot of traction off that video.
Yeah, that's so I started this Disembark last year. And this was my best performing video so far. Especially I made 2 videos. I made the whole set of Haywire, and then I knew people were gonna want to be searching for Title Fight, so I made the separate video for Title Fight, and that one has 10,000 views last time I saw it on YouTube, which was pretty awesome. I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I mean, for only being what is your really second year into this?
Yep.
And you got a little you got a shirt from the show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a special shirt. So they like I said, Haywire likes doing tributes.
Yeah. So.
And if you're familiar with Title Fight, you'll see that is the Shed artwork logo, but with the Haywire stuff on it.
Yeah, they got the Haywire little mascot logo, and then the Haywire graffiti on the building. But I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. And that Title Fight album is Shed is my favorite Title Fight album, which is sometimes people say that's a little controversial.
Yeah, I don't even know which one. It would either be between Shed or Floral Green. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Maddox, who's in my band, gives me a very tough time because I say Shed is my favorite Title Fight album, and I also say that OK Computer is my favorite Radiohead album. Big In Rainbows guy. and a floral green guy. So we get into fights constantly. And yeah, do you like Radiohead at all? Or?
I actually don't listen to them much.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some songs, but
Yeah, my dad got me into Radiohead. I got to see Radiohead. They played at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia a couple years ago now. And I just talk about shirts and like specific merch for shows. A guy just had a shirt that said, "I hope they play Creep" on it, which is funny because they're never going to play Creep live, probably ever again. And it was just funny to see that. But yeah, back to Disembark Media. What one thing has surprised you the most coming out of this project?
The friends that I made doing it's pretty awesome. And also just all the compliments that people have been giving me for the videos that I put out. Yeah, either the comments on the videos or in the local scene, like, "Oh, I saw your video and it was really good." Especially the bands. I try to make the band look as best as they can, and represent them well. You know, whether it's something like really like a heavy artist, or so I want to do like quick shots, quick actions, or if it's like a slower one, you know, not as
like
quick, smooth shots.
You have like when you did Sweet Nest and Rosary Guild at the Red Room, like you do a really good job of matching the vibe of the performance. Because like you said, like with One Step Closer, with Magnitude Coil, like, yeah, quick cuts, like crazy stuff happening. But then you have the juxtaposition of Rosary Guild, and you have them at Good Things Fest, and it's like, I mean, Rosary Guild, they're awesome.
Yeah, I love them. They're great.
Yeah, so let's talk about the first Good Things Fest. I mean, that had to be pretty early on in Disembark Media's journey, right?
Yeah. So my friend who was in Skiptown Maddie, Doug Griffiths, he was in another band that was playing, and I just hit him up and said, "Hey, can you talk to James Barrett about if I can film this?" Yeah. And you know, starting out, I don't have too many videos, but he was all for it, so I went there and I filmed the whole thing, and yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, you got our set from that show as well.
Oh, right.
And that was really cool because that was the first time we had like a high quality video up on YouTube of us playing that like I didn't talk to you at that show like or anything. Like you just posted that and I was like, "Oh crap, like this is up on the internet. This is so cool."
Yeah.
So as from the artist perspective, it means so much when you do post a video, like any sort of concert video. It means a lot. And so from all the artists in the area that you have done, I want to say thanks. But also from us specifically, like, yeah, like seeing, like, it's really cool. Like you think like, oh, like this show happened, whoever was there captures it, whatever. But then it's like, I sent that video to my grandparents and like, I sent that video to my friend that lives in Norway. Like, and I sent that video to my friends that are like all across the state that couldn't be there. And it's just like what you do. Like you might not hear it all the time, but thanks.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that a lot. It does mean a lot.
Yeah, of course. So before we wrap up, I do want to ask, you were at Camp Pennsylvania. The video we have is Vulture Raid. That's on SOTS 2. And that's a different like coming together of people. What was that show like?
That was incredible. So I filmed Scala Days, that was in Scranton, and I met some of the Riot Squad people who put on Camp Pennsylvania there, and just connected with them and asked if I could film it. And yeah, they put me. This is one of the stages I was on, for 3 days actually.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. There was so many bands. I think I filmed like 40 bands.
Yeah. So what's that like when you're at the end of the weekend and you have 40 bands worth of footage? I mean, how many memory cards did you bring?
I brought a lot, and I still have a backlog of editing to do. So I just do it on the side. It's not my full-time job or anything. So I'm editing it at night when I can. I'm married. I have 2 kids, so I just fit it in when I can.
Yeah, and yeah, it's exactly. That's why it means so much when you do stuff like this, because you know, like everyone has very limited time, and you doing this is super cool because it's just like you're doing this on your own. You don't really have help, do you? Right?
Just for Good Things Fest, like I was saying, Evan had given me some extra camera angles to cut into it. But other than that, yeah, I'm going to shows alone and then just setting up the 3 cameras, editing it myself.
Yeah, I mean that's it's commendable. It's like I said, from everybody that's been recorded by, we say thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We are going to wrap up here. So thank you so much for listening to Joe's Jukebox and watching. I'm an old radio guy, as they say. So I'm used to saying listening. But thank you for watching Joe's Jukebox on the 2822 Now app. Thank you, Mike Healy from Disembark Media, for coming on. Your socials that you want people to follow, what are they?
On Instagram, Disembark Media, no space or anything. And then YouTube, Disembark Media. I'm also on Facebook and I believe pretty much all the socials, but I'm mainly active on YouTube and Instagram.
Cool. I appreciate it. All right, Joe Nardone, Mike Healy, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. Stay safe.